research was only done on men. It wasn't even until 1993 that a law was passed that allowed women to be a part of medical studies, pharmaceutical studies, right?
That is
This
insane.
is the thing. This is the thing, yeah. So they took men. Oh, a 140-pound man, that's equivalent to a female. Oh, so think about all the birth controls and all these medications that came out, and when they were developed, what, the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s? How many women were a part of those studies? Goose egg.
Hey everyone, my name is Fallon Mercedes Brock, and you are watching the Fit with Fallon podcast. And today I have a very special guest, Dr. Beth Westie. She's like one of my favorite doctors that I turn to online to check the latest and greatest in hormone health and hormone balancing, and of course, weight loss for women. She is the author of The Female Fat Solution, The Female Menopause Solution, and she is the creator of the 12-week Female Fat Solution Challenge, which will be starting January 4th. So you definitely want to sign up for that. How are you, Dr. Beth Westie?
I'm so good. For you?
I'm good. I'm excited. I have so many questions. I usually don't get to them all because all my conversations kind of naturally go into their own direction, but I definitely want to talk to you about how you started on your journey with trying to help women in hormone health. I know you have a background studying like Chinese, Western medicine. Is that what inspired you, or did you have any issues with hormone health yourself?
Yeah, great question. So I started because I had ovarian cysts. That was very painful. I had, so I have 3 kids, and they were all like 2 years apart. So sort of like back to back. I had a baby, I nursed, weaned them, and then was pregnant again. Another thing. Just the way life kind of happened for me. And, I had, some health things with my pregnancies, like thyroid issues, some of that stuff. And, that was more navigatable, right? But after my 3rd was born, I started my first clinic, my chiropractic clinic, and I was under a lot of stress. I had she was actually a preemie. So I had a preemie, a 2-year-old, and a 4-year-old.
Wow.
And stress through the roof, right? And I started getting ovarian cysts. I had never had them before in my life.
That you had ovarian cysts? What symptoms did you have?
They would burst.
So just extreme pain on one side, whatever ovary it was in.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And then it would be right around the time when I would be ovulating, a cyst would form, it would burst, and it would put me on the floor.
Wow.
So painful, so painful. And at one point, and I couldn't move, right? I had to wait until the pain went down. At one point, my husband was so worried, right? So doctors are the worst patients sometimes, I swear. It was, yeah. He put me in the car and took me to the ER, and he was like, you this isn't normal. Like, you can't keep going like this. So in the ER, they, did an ultrasound stuff. They're like, yep, it's a cyst. Yep, it burst. And I'm like, yep, I know. But I was trying all these dietary changes. I was eating super clean, like pristine diet, no gluten, no dairy, no sugar, no anything, no processed anything, right? I wasn't drinking. All this other stuff I was taking all these supplements, and I still kept getting cysts, and I got so frustrated.
Did you have PCOS, or did you check for PCOS? Because sometimes that can happen when you have it.
Yeah. So that was the diagnosis that they gave me. Okay. Yep. You have PCOS. You keep getting these cysts. Yep. Exactly. And the ER doc was like, well, this is terrible. So here's your Vicodin and here's your birth control.
Go home and just medicate. Nothing else I could do.
Yeah. I was like, what? They're like, yeah, we're ready, like a lifetime prescription for Vicodin because of the pain you're going to be in when these burst. And we're going to put you on birth control to try and help, but there's no guarantee that the birth control is going to get rid of these cysts, because yours, like, are so bad. And I was like, well, this sounds terrible. I don't want any of that. Right. And so I was really frustrated frustrated, right? And I'm sure other women have had this experience, right? You go in, you're looking for help, you're like, oh, something's wrong, right? I'm looking for assistance and help, and you're not given any like guidance that feels helpful. And I went home and I got super frustrated with just, oh, Vicodin birth control recommendation. And I dove into research. I dove headfirst into research and looked at, okay, why do I have cysts? What's going on hormonally? All these other things. And what can I do to correct my hormones? And what's interesting is that, you know, I had gone through acupuncture and Chinese medicine training while I was getting
cool. Acupuncture too?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah, I love it, right? And I had gone through this training, and I actually worked with and specialized in, and the like extra training I got was for fertility and
Oh.
cycle issues. Yeah, fascinating stuff, right? And as I'm having these cysts, it never occurred to me to start diving into that, right? It was only after I got really frustrated at the doctor's office where I started diving into that background. And I was like, okay, so my hormones are off, all this other stuff. How can I correct this? How can I work with this? And I went right back to those roots of, okay, your body is different every week of the month. You need to be doing things differently for that. So I started getting acupuncture. I started shifting things there. And then the other layer on top of it was my food. I changed my food for my hormones to balance it and match it and everything, you know? So that's what I do. That's what I teach. And for some people, if they're familiar with seed cycling, you know, that's eating different seeds at different times of the month to match with your hormones. It's like that, but like with everything that you eat, you know? And it's incredible the shift and change that your body can make. It helps to produce and maintain the right amount of hormone for you. Yeah, so I started this for myself. This is where I started for myself. I started eating for my hormones and my cycle. And the first month it was helpful, right? I still had a cyst that burst, but it was helpful. By the second month, I know I had a cyst still, but it didn't burst. So it must have been smaller, right? It didn't like completely get out of control. And then by the third month, I didn't have a cyst. If I did have a cyst, it was so tiny that I didn't have any pain or cramping, nothing, right? And I haven't had a cyst since.
Wow. You know, I found you on the internet because I was having a bunch of PMS problems. I am a nutritionist, trainer, herbalist, and I'm like, why is this weight not coming off? I'm working out 2 times a day. I'm eating clean. And I think but I think what really stood out about you to me that I really gravitated towards was your whole concept of, you know, recognizing that your body, one, is a female, not a male, and two, you have a different, you know, kind of circadian rhythm almost than a man does. You have a different rhythm than a man does in general with your cycle. And you were the first doctor that I found that actually structured a program around that. So you mentioned in your book that all of the studies, majority of them out there on weight loss, nutrition, even hormones are mainly surrounded or supported by, you know, research on a man that's 140 pounds or men. So that was fascinating to me because I would dive into research and I'm like, okay, this is not telling me much. Like, it's not, you know, it's saying this, but it's not, when I try it, it's not working. So what made you realize that the research one was mostly on men? And how did you figure out, like, okay, I need to put that into practice and realize that I need to treat myself and my patients differently?
Yeah, great question. So it started with that ER doctor telling me I needed to go on birth control, you know, because I'd been on birth control when I was, you know, younger, all this stuff. But after I had kids, you know, my husband and our family was complete. So snip, snip, you know, and I was like, I don't want to be on birth control anymore. I had other side effects from it, you know, all these things. I didn't like it. I don't want it in my body, you know? And so when that was his recommendation for me, I dove into all this stuff, you know, Eastern medicine wise, but I also dove into like, okay, why is birth control the go-to and the only thing and blah, blah, blah. And I went down this rabbit hole of, and I'm sure you've been there too, of like the history of birth control. And then I got into, okay, so this is actually true of like the medical industry, the pharmaceutical industry, all these things. Research was only done on men. It wasn't even until 1993 that a law was passed that allowed women to be a part of medical studies, pharmaceutical studies, right?
That is
This
insane.
is the thing.
Like,
this is the thing. Yeah. So they took men. Oh, 140-pound man, that's equivalent to a female. Oh, so think about all the birth controls and all these medications that came out, and when they were developed, what, the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s? How many women were a part of those studies? Goose egg.
Insane.
None. And it was
And
for women.
what makes me like surprised is like, why do we still not have a birth control for men? Or men? Why are they still dosing women with birth control?
I think it's compliance, right? I think compliance wise, that's where it's gonna be, right? Yeah. But absolutely, seriously, yeah. But that's, I mean, when I found that out, I was like, this is ridiculous. The product that they're making this for, like the person that they're making this product for, they're not even testing it for. And then I was like, how deep does that go? How far does that go? Oh, it's with everything. So, and there's a great book called Doing Harm. And the author, she does a fantastic job of showing just research after research after research over years of time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of not just, medications, but also the dietary things, all this other stuff, right? Like I ended up doing all my own research, like in a furious rage at 2 a.m. because I got like obsessed with it.
You do, when you're in pain. My husband, he's like, you are going crazy.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, you don't know what it is to, one, you're educated in the field, which I've been working in health and fitness, for over 12 years, and to still suffer every month, it's like, and I think that's the only way that you actually kind of have hope, is if you just keep on researching.
Yeah, seriously, exactly. That's exactly it. Like, and to be in the field, it's almost like, gosh, what's wrong with me that I can't figure this out?
Yeah.
But I figured, you know what, if I'm having this issue, and other women must have this issue where they feel completely left out, completely lost, completely, misled, and this is a whole other topic to go down. But I can't tell you how often now, it's at least a handful of times a week. I had it happen once today, even when I'm talking to a gal on the phone, and she tells me the issues that she had, hormonal issues, female reproductive health issues, right? That they get told, oh, you need a psych consult. You need a therapist.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
Oftentimes they'll give you a prescription for antidepressants, and then it will be a psych or both. And, it just really scares me because it's just more medication going into the body. And, there's a lot of side effects when you're taking tons of medication. I mean, for the pain medication that you were going to take, or you did take, can you imagine all of your life on those type of strong, painkillers, the damage it could do to your liver and other organs?
Yeah. Well, and I had 3 kids.
Yeah, you can't be zoned out. You can't.
That's not safe. They were like, yeah, when you're on this, you can't drive. Don't drive when you're taking this. And I was like, drive? What the hell? I have 3 kids.
Insane. And I think it's even more frustrating when you have a female doctor telling you these things. Yeah. And it's like, you're a woman, like, you should help me and know the answers.
Yeah. And the reality of it is, because I've been there before, just being frustrated and feeling, just lost, right? And not sure what to do next. And the thing is that I realized is that the person that you're asking, right? The one path that we're taking at that point is, we're asking somebody who has a very limited toolbox. They only have these tools. The only thing that they help you with is birth control and Vicodin. Here you go. We can give you lots of that. But at no point did anybody talk to me about toxic overload, why my hormones would be like that, my stress levels, which have a huge impact on your hormones, right? What am I eating? How well am I sleeping? No one talked to me about that.
Yeah.
Birth control fixes it all. Oh my gosh, right? So, and that's one of the reasons I'm super passionate about what I do, is because I share so much content, for free. My YouTube channel is,
You do. And you have a
you know,
whiteboard that I appreciate very much because I'm a note taker. So that helps me.
yeah, yeah, I'm such a nerd about it, but it just like that's my mission, is just to educate women. So when you know more about how your body works and functions, you can do the things, you know what I mean? To say, okay, this is working for me, this is not. You get a whole, like, it just opens up all these other doors of different paths that you can try on your own,
Mm-hmm.
because we have to be our own self, health advocates.
Mm-hmm.
We're working within a system that was not built for us.
Yep,
you know
exactly.
it's So that's why we get so frustrated. That's why we have
Yeah, no, I understand. For me, how I found out what was wrong with me, just a little background.
Mhm.
My viewers have heard it probably every episode, but I was struggling with horrible PMS, and every month I was getting depressed. I was getting anxiety, irritable, heavy menstrual cycles. What else? And I was a newlywed and I wasn't getting pregnant. So I went to my primary care physician and I told her all my symptoms and the weight gain as well, like I was explaining earlier. And she was just like, PMS, it's normal. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I don't really think so. So I went
Yeah.
home and I found this company called letsgetchecked.com. And I just ordered an at-home test and I checked my hormones, and my progesterone was really low and my prolactin was really high. And because I would get like, every time of the month, I would get like swollen breasts, nauseous. So a doctor from the company called me back and was like, hey, you definitely need to go see somebody.
Yeah.
So I got into a fertility specialist, and they originally thought I had PCOS.
Mhm.
And they gave me metformin before they checked me. I was like, I don't think I'm going to take that. And then when they did check me, I didn't have any cysts or anything like that in my ovaries, but they did find some fibroids. They were
Mm.
small, but one of them was blocking my uterine canal, and that was preventing me from getting pregnant.
Yeah.
So we got surgery to get that specific one out. And then one of my fibroids came back precancerous for uterine cancer.
Oh my gosh.
So then I had to be on progesterone, and I did a bunch of research on diet. I read the China study and a bunch of other books. And then I
Yeah.
changed my diet. I started doing high doses of high doses of vitamin C through
Yeah.
IV, and like you, the acupuncture and the, just trying to de-stress. And my biopsy came back a couple weeks ago. It's clear. So
Yay.
so yeah, I'm so excited about that. But that, company that helped me check my hormones at home really saved me. So I know for
Yeah.
you have a very special test that you test on women called the Dutch test. Can you go into detail of why that is so vital in finding out what's wrong with a woman if she's struggling in, hormonal areas?
Yeah. Yes. So I love Dutch test, because it shows not just what the blood levels are of the hormone, which can be really helpful, right? Absolutely can be helpful, but it shows how your body processes that hormone, right? It shows, oh, here's how your liver breaks down estrogen, and oh, it's doing it and it's really unbalanced. This is why you're having, like, I can literally see on there if certain pathways are higher or lower or whatever. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I don't look at, when I get a report in, I don't look at what people write down first. I go through the numbers and I make my own notes on. I'm like, yep, look, they got mood swings right here. They probably feel like a different person for at least a week, if not 2 out of the month. These are really bad. Oh, these are the testosterone levels. So yep, they're going to have no libido. Their hair probably is falling out a little bit, la, la, la. It shows how your body processes everything. It also shows some nutrient levels, like B vitamins,
Mhm.
right? And you might be like, well, I'm taking a B vitamin. But if your body is, if you have bad cortisol levels, your body might need more B vitamin, right? Like your dose, a therapeutic dose for you might be higher than what you're actually getting in, even if you're like, oh, I'm taking one. Well, sure, it might not be enough,
Yeah. Or
right?
even sometimes you need it methylated. So just
Yes.
the form of the vitamin.
Exactly. So this is where women spend all this time, right? Like researching, looking, trying all these things. Like maybe I need this vitamin, maybe I need that. You know, I'm buying all these things, I'm taking all these things, and it's not really making a difference. You can be really close, but just completely miss the mark because you can't see exactly how your body is processing these hormones and where the hangup is. And what's interesting is that this year, especially recently, because of the amount of stress that women are under now with 2020 and
Yeah.
the hot garbage fire I don't know, is that I am seeing cortisol levels be a driver in problems for hormones, especially fertility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah.
Okay, so with the hormone test, you explained that it's really in depth, more than just a blood test. So is it a urine test? Is it a saliva test?
Sorry, I get so excited. I just jump right into like,
Yeah.
oh my God, it's so amazing.
Can anybody take it? So if you have clients in different states, do you send it to their home?
Yeah. So yeah, Dutch Test is amazing. So if you Google like Dutch Test, they have a lot of info out there. They're an amazing company. They're an amazing lab. They have also providers that just educate on it specifically. I know Dr. Carrie Jones is one of them. She's fantastic. And yeah, I work with women all over the world. There's some places that it's hard to get a Dutch test there. So there's like different urine tests it is, but it's a dried urine. It's DUTCH, stands for dried urine test for comprehensive hormones. So yeah, you get a kit sent to you and there's little strips and you just like pee on the strip and you let it dry and you mail it in and then it, a couple weeks later you get your report. So
Awesome.
you take it at a certain time of the month though. So that's another thing too. If women are in like perimenopause or menopause, you can take it any time, but otherwise you take it like between days 19 or 22 of your cycle.
Interesting. Because
Yeah.
I was always told that you want to take it or for the estradiol, you want to take day 3 of your cycle.
Yep, because that's where that the estradiol, that's where that starts to increase. So they want to see if it's picking up there.
Okay.
But this one, we see estrogen levels as well, but also how your body processes it.
Got it. That makes sense. So what if a woman is on birth control? I know sometimes girls will skip the sugar pills and they want to miss their period.
Yeah.
So how do you test women who miss their periods because of their birth control? Do you make them wean off until they get their period back in order to test correctly?
No, they can take it while they're on a birth control. We'll still see like the levels are like really low then, the main levels, but we still see how your body processes hormone. Yes, and I should also mention that Dutch also has a cycle mapping test. So especially for fertility, yep, this one actually takes longer. So this one, it's like however long your cycle is. If it's 30 days, then you take a test for 30 days. And it literally gives you your exact hormone ebb and flow throughout the month. Oh my gosh, yeah. If you are like into it, Dutch has stuff on the cycle mapping.
Yeah, I'm gonna sign up for that.
Those are like when I work with women, it's so cool. Like it's amazing. So one of the most recent ones that I've done cycle mapping wise, this gal, she's like, okay, I am ovulating. My ovulation strips are showing. I've been ovulating regularly for a year. I've worked on all this stuff. I've cleaned up my diet. I've been doing all these things, but I'm not getting pregnant. What the heck? Like I can't figure it out. And I'm so frustrated. So we did the cycle mapping. And what it turned out is that, because when she was getting her blood tested, it showed that her levels were normal. And then when we did the cycle mapping, it showed that, well, sure, your levels are normal, but her progesterone phase, that luteal phase, so short. Wow. It was like less than a week. So the whole time, and then that was it, So you can have this, appearingly normal levels, but the pattern is off, right? Yeah. Or it rises and drops too quickly. I see that quite a bit too, where right around ovulation, progesterone starts to rise and then it just dive bombs.
Why is that? Why do women, you know, even in their fertile years, why do they struggle so much with having low progesterone? And wouldn't that make you estrogen dominant because it's not equivalent, it's not like balanced?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. That's the result of it, is essentially estrogen dominance, which leads to all the other issues with it. The original cause of it, you know, what is it? It's almost a never ending list of things that it could be. And a lot of times, you know, we're looking for like, oh, this one thing.
Yeah.
What I find, it's not just one thing. It's that, you know, what I always talk about is your health is cumulative. So it's built up of a lot of things. Like, were you sick a lot as a kid? Or, you know, did you have mono? Do you have Epstein-Barr? Do you have an autoimmune, Lyme? You know, all these other things. It matters for how
I
well your
love
body.
I love that you bring that up, because it
Yeah.
seems like you have such a functional approach to it, because when you're on years and years of antibiotics from different viruses, or if it's still remaining dormant in the system, it's going to show up, especially under stress.
Yes.
So I love that you mentioned that.
Yes.
Uh, okay.
Yeah.
So if you have somebody who, let's say, when I was younger, I had salmonella poisoning. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
yeah, I
that's
was
not a good time.
yeah. So I was in the hospital for a while, and then tons of antibiotics. And as I was trying to put the pieces together with my own issues and researching, that's what I thought of. And I remember taking lots of medicine during that time. And then, you know, even in my 20s, I remember being put on birth control and getting, this is TMI, everybody, but back-to-back yeast infections. And I'm like, what is going on? But what I realized is my microbiome was all jacked up from the antibiotics, from stress, from,
Yeah.
you know, the other medicines that I was taking, and it was showing up in that way. So when you have women that come into you and they have low progesterone, you go through their history, you find out what's wrong. What is the first thing you attack? Is it nutrition? Is it, you mentioned toxic load? What is the first thing you do?
So this is where, again, and this is just my like opinion on an approach, right? Because it like, there's like all these different dials, right? Like all these different things. There's like all these little fires going on. Like, which one do you put out first? Right? And the answer is, to really make progress, is you have to work on all of them. You have to throw a bucket of water on all of them, right? So, and some of these things are, you know, going to help with everything, right? So like cleaning up the diet if we need to, you know, eating cleaner, great. That's going to help with inflammation and all these other things, great, sure. You know, doing a liver detox, that can help, you know, flush out excess levels of hormone or cortisol or, you know, toxins, all that stuff. Helping heal the gut, you know, you have to go through and do that. Working on stress levels overall, repair, rest and repair, that's essential. Getting enough restful sleep, crucial for the body. Like, you can't, you know, that's another thing too, like again, I feel like a whole other, like, I feel like people are like, I'm doing all the things. And I'm like, but you sleep like crap. That's not,
Yeah.
you can't make yourself sleep better. Like,
How do you track their sleep? Do you make them write it down, or do they have like the Fitbit and they send you the results? How do you make them track their sleep behavior?
yeah. I mean, sometimes if they're tracking their sleep, great. But even with just a Fitbit, you know, it shows like, oh, I got 8 hours of sleep. Well, you can get 8 hours of sleep and not feel like
Rested, well rested.
actually rested. Yeah, exactly. So what I recommend is tracking and making sure you're tracking like your autonomic nervous system while you're sleeping. So there's a couple of different watches that do that. I have a polar watch that
Yep,
tracks my
Polar, yeah.
autonomic nervous system as I sleep. Yep. And then Whoop, I know, is another one. You know, there's you know, tracking how your nervous system resets overnight is really important.
Wow, I love
So,
that.
but it's, I mean, it's really, yeah, it's really important that you look at all these different areas. Cause again, so often we get stuck on, oh, I'm a hot mess, but my gut is really bad, is the worst. So I'm going to just do a gut protocol. And it's not bad to do a leaky gut protocol. I mean, great. But if all you're doing is greasing the squeaky wheel when the other ones are falling off, you
Yeah,
know,
not
so
really
it is
gonna help.
yeah, it is more involved. It is more like all hands on deck, turn the ship around. So you stop trying to fight upstream and, you know, work with your system as it functions better. Everything starts to feel better. Yeah.
With leaky gut, I know that it can be hard to kind of figure it out that you have leaky gut, and some of the signs could be constipation, bloating, all those things.
Mhm.
So I know you are a big fan of intermittent fasting, and that's something that can help with leaky gut. But there's a special approach that you take on intermittent fasting, and it's very different from the general blanket type of intermittent fasting approach, and it's specific for women. So I would love for you to explain to me and my audience how you approach it.
Yeah. So this is really a whole different philosophy on intermittent fasting. You know, it is really beneficial when you look at, the science behind fasting and all the health benefits, right? Not just for weight loss,
Mhm.
but health benefits, boosting your immune system, repairing your gut lining, all that other stuff. It's essentially letting your digestive system rest, right? So that it can repair on its own better. Now, the other caveat to that is that if you are not eating fasting, like not eating anything,
Mhm.
that also can have a negative response on your body system, right? On your cortisol levels, on your blood sugars, all this other stuff. And if for the female body, like, so for a gal who is exhausted already, she's super fatigued, her cortisol levels are all over the place and has hormonal issues. If you don't feed that body system at all, it can't go through and do the detox part of it, or you know what I mean? So it's so hard to do. So your system ends up crashing and burning. So
I love that you say this. Sorry to cut you off,
yeah.
because I've experienced myself, and even clients that I've worked with, they're telling me when they're fasting that, one, their fatigue is like so extreme, their hair is falling out, their
Oh,
like skin is breaking out. It's like,
yeah.
hello, your body's
Stop doing
saying
it.
something. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. So for fasting, what it's called just a supported fast, right? We're still helping your blood sugar levels. We're supporting your blood sugar levels. We're giving your body a little bit of nutrient, right? And essentially what you're doing is fueling your body a little bit, but not activating the digestive system too much, right? So there's a fine line. So I talk about getting little snacks in, little things in, some protein, fat, carb, right? So you're getting a little something, but you're not getting anything fibrous or big. So you don't have to activate the digestive system really. And the difference is like, so for example, like having a little bit of like a half a protein shake or something is a perfect little snack. It's just a little bit of nutrient. Okay, good. And a protein shake, I mean, that's like half digested already, it's
Exactly. It goes right through you, literally.
yeah, yeah. There you go, right? There you go. And you're getting your body systems are getting what they need to do the job that they want to do. I mean, you can't drive a car without putting gas in it. And if your car is, if you're like, yep, my battery is low, I need an oil change, all this stuff, what I got to take it in.
Engine light on.
Yeah, engine light flashing, alert, right? You got to take it in, but if you don't put gas in that tank, you're not going to get it there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
that's
I think so often, so many people are used to running on empty, literally in so many areas of their life, that they don't take the signals or the red flags or the lights flashing like, hello, we need to do something.
yeah. Oh my gosh, yes. Oh my gosh, yes, yeah. It becomes a normal. And that's the thing I hear so often from women too, is that they're like, yeah, I mean, maybe I'm tired, I don't know, but I can, I make it through the day. I just push through, like you end
I'm
up
drinking
living
a
your
sweet
life.
espresso. I'm good.
Yeah, it's fine. I got energy. It's fine. But think about your life. Like you're spending your life just trying to make it from 1 hour to the next, from one day to the next. That's how you're living your life. Like, you're probably wanting to do that you don't have the energy to do yet. And then there are things that your brain, that you're like creativity wise and all these other things that you can do, like, or have the potential to do, but without that health you can't do. And that's honestly one of my favorite things about what I do with women. It's yes, to get them healthier, and yes, the results and all that other stuff is really, really great. But some of my favorite things are when women send me a message and they're like, you know what? I feel like I'm a better mom.
Aww.
I am, I made dinner, I cleaned it up. I didn't have to go to bed or lay down. I wasn't crabby, and I sat down on the floor and I played with my kids. And I can't remember the last time I did that. I had the energy to do that. We went for a bike ride, like stuff like that. I'm like, oh my God, like they feel better, right? You become your best self when you're living in your healthiest body.
Yeah, no,
So,
I definitely agree.
yeah.
You also mention in your book, it's so important to pay attention to your cycle in terms of the intermittent fasting, when you're feeding it, even when you exercise. So can you take me through the different stages of your cycle? Because most women don't even know that there are stages. I think as women, I mean, I didn't even know really when I ovulated until I wanted to get pregnant. So by that time, I'm already like, did so much damage, you know, with birth control, with so many other stuff. So tell me more about the different phases in a woman's cycle.
Yeah. So I do break this down into like two main phases, just to make it easier. I mean, again, we get that one class in 5th grade. Here's your body, and you're like, what? And then
you're like too embarrassed to even talk about it then.
Yeah, you're like, oh my God, what? I'm gonna what? I'm gonna believe what? But otherwise, we aren't educated enough on this as a whole, right? We get our information from like movies or TV commercials or something, right? No, not accurate. Yeah, not accurate.
Cosmopolitan.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Cosmo. How bloated are you before your period? So I break it down into these two phases. So essentially, days 1 through 14, that's where estrogen rises and it's highest throughout the cycle, right? So from the start of your period, your hormones are actually really, really low the first few days of your cycle. And then estrogen starts to rise. And estrogen stays, pretty dominant there until about the time you ovulate. So day 14, day 15, right? And then it flips pretty quickly, or it should pretty quickly. Estrogen drops and progesterone comes up. And progesterone is the dominant hormone then.
Is that the week before your period when you start going crazy?
Days 15.
Is that what that is?
Well, it's days 15 through 28. So it's like the 2 weeks before your period.
That's like the turn.
Yes. Yeah. So many women feel like, they're like, yeah, I only feel normal 2 weeks out of the month. I'm like, yeah, because you have some of one, but not of the other. That's there you go, right? But day 15, progesterone rises, but it's actually at what they call the high hormone phase. It's actually right around day 19, 20, 21, 22. So right when you're supposed to be taking the Dutch test, estrogen starts to bump a little bit. Oh, so a lot of gals will notice I have PMS symptoms or I have other stuff happen right at that time. Like starting the week before my period, and then it just goes that whole week.
Yeah. Got it.
Yep. Yeah. And your nutrient levels are different then, right? Like what your body, because it's different hormones. Those hormones do different things, Estrogen is going to build muscle. It regenerates, it usually gives you a boost. You can have clearer skin then, all that great stuff. Progesterone comes on the scene and you can be more exhausted. You can feel like garbage. Your digestive system slows down, right? And you need more protein, more minerals, more vitamins. So if you're not getting that, your body's going to perceive it as a depletion and then have a stress response because of that depletion.
And that's going to give you the adrenal fatigue and all that stuff.
Yeah. And cravings and all that. We're like, oh, I'm having all these cravings. I want to eat all the things. Yeah, because you've been starving yourself thinking it's bad to eat more when it's not.
Yeah. I love in the book where you explain that if you want to get a good workout, this is the time you go in, and this is the time when you can still work out, but you take it easy because you don't want to put more stress on the body because you're just going to exacerbate those cortisol levels. And, so many women, like I was, working out 2 times a day, every single day, and not losing weight. I'll tell you this story. So in this past June, I have like a workout calendar and I'll check it every day. I worked out 27 times that month. Okay. Guess how much I lost? 2 pounds.
Oh.
And I was eating amazing. And that was the month where I ended up having the next month I had my surgery. They took out the fibroid and then they put me on hormones because my progesterone was like depleted. And that month I just slept because I was kind of recovering from my surgery.
Yeah.
I lost 11 pounds I mean, I changed my diet too. I started eating way more vegetables. I ended up going vegan, but I lost 11 pounds. And I literally probably worked out 4 times a month. But that shows you how much hormones, one, impact you holding on to weight or losing it, or even your food, what you're eating. So before I was doing keto, but I wasn't eating no vegetables. I was just eating fat, and not necessarily the good fat. I was eating like sticks of cheese for every single snack. I was eating tons of meat. So I think my body was so depleted of like real nutrients from the ground, from, fruit and vegetable sources. So it was very, very interesting. It was quite eye-opening and shocking to see, and I was so upset. I'm like, for years I've been killing myself working out, and literally this was the issue. Okay, so if you have women that are on birth control, do you suggest for them to get off? Or is it okay to stay on it? Say their husband didn't get snipped and they're like, okay, I really want to become healthy, but I'm not trying to get pregnant. What do you suggest to them?
So the birth control topic, I mean, I really think it's like a personal choice, right? And what reason did you go on it? Was it for actual birth control? And if that's what works best for you, because you're like, listen, I got, I don't want to have babies yet, or, whatever the scenario is, or I've got my husband hasn't or something, or whatever the scenario is here, right? That you're going to be on it or not, right? A lot of women, I find that they're like, nope, I'm going to be on the birth control because I need it for birth control. Okay. We can, I want to say, work around it. There's a lot of stuff that we can do to help improve your hormonal process internally, right? Get the gears working better inside while you're on the birth control. And then for other gals, they started birth control because their hormones were out of whack, right? And so they're like, well, I don't want to be on it, but I don't know what else to do. So, or I've had gals that are like, yep, I tried to go off of it and my face became a pizza, I broke up with her, right? I felt like garbage. So I felt like I had to be on it. And so sometimes we'll actually start that detox process. And then again, if women are ready, again, it's a personal choice type of thing. If you want to come off of it or whatever, that way your system's going to process through that hormone as it leaves your body, and it doesn't linger and cause more problems. Yeah.
So we always talk about estrogen, but let's talk more about testosterone and specifically strength training. And a lot of women are so afraid of weight training and getting big and bulky, and they're doing cardio. So you suggest that you should be strength training, that it's going to speed up your metabolism and it's actually going to help you lose weight. So tell me, how much should you be strength training? Because I know it needs to be in a certain part of your cycle. And do you suggest, certain types of, strength training, or is body weight, using your own body weight, good enough?
Yeah, great question. So some of this also can depend on your individuality of your goals. For some people, like they're like, I just want to be healthy and fit. I'm not working towards anything. Other people are like, I'm a marathon runner. I don't want to lift super heavy. I'm not going to go deadlift, 250 pounds or whatever. And then there's other gals that are like, yeah, I want to deadlift 250. Yeah. Okay. There is, so it's sort of like adjusting these things for what your goals are, it's a beautiful thing to be able to use your body, in different activities that bring you joy or whatever. Great. So it is helpful for the female frame to do at least some type of heavier lifting, more than just body weight, especially during the estrogen phase. This has to deal with like muscle and tissue structure as well as bone tissue, right? You bone, after a certain age, bone growth starts to deplete, blah, blah, blah. How do you maintain that? The best way is not taking calcium. The best way is lifting heavy stuff.
Yeah. Let's talk about dairy. Since you mentioned calcium and dairy, let's talk about that, and I guess the misconception of how, drinking dairy can strengthen your bones.
okay.
You don't have to.
I know. Well, I know. I hear that all the time. Like, well, you're supposed to drink milk. I was like, yeah, that like Got Milk campaign. That was great marketing.
Yes.
You know, that was great marketing.
What's even scarier is that a lot of dietitians are promoting it. And, you know, for instance, my mother had a double lung transplant. And after the transplant, we went to the dietitian and she was like, you know, you definitely need to be drinking so much milk. And I'm thinking, in my head, you know, as a nutritionist and just all the research that I've done on milk and dairy in general, I'm like, I don't think that's a good idea, Mom. You know, like, of course, I'm not your doctor or your dietitian, but I think we need to focus on strength training. We need to focus on other areas where you can get calcium. There's so many vegetables that you can get calcium from. You know, you don't have to have, you know, processed, you know, hormonal type of food to get calcium to help prevent osteoporosis and other things.
Yes, I know. Yeah, it was a great marketing thing. And that's you're absolutely right. Especially dairy. Dairy is very mucus producing. So, and this is something that I used to tell people, like back when I had my clinic, even like if they had a cold or kids had a runny nose, stuffy nose or something like that, I'd be like, take them off dairy. They'd be like, oh, but kids are supposed to drink milk, blah, blah, blah. I was like, listen, take them off dairy for 2 days. I guarantee that stuffy nose, that mucus, that stuff coming out of their face clears up
right away.
It's a mucus producer for the body.
Yeah, and that causes so much inflammation.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh, yes. So, but again, we're, you know, told that the best way to build bones is drink milk. No, the bones actually build, and it's not even build, it's maintaining the current bone mass the best by weight training. You have to have what's called axial load on the bone for it to maintain the structure. When it's not strained, then it weakens. You know, if you don't use it, you lose it type of thing. But again, you don't have to, like, it doesn't have to be super, super heavy. It can be any type of weight thing that you're doing to put that pressure on the muscles and joints that help strengthen or keep the bones strong. It's strengthen the bones is a little deceiving in how people talk about it, but it's because it's not actually getting stronger. You're basically maintaining what you have. So, yeah.
On average, when a woman comes to you and she's struggling and she's put on your program, the 12-week challenge, after 12 weeks, so it's been for 3 months about, how much has she lost on average? Because a lot of girls are coming to you for, you know, weight loss and they're struggling. What do you say is a good amount of, you know, weight that they lose?
Yeah. I mean, it really honestly depends. There are some women that, and again, in terms of weight loss, you know, amount, like pounds, some of this depends on their inflammation as they start. Some gals have no idea. They're like, I had no idea I was so inflamed. I had somebody who lost 12 pounds in the first month.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, and she's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I was like, listen, that's not actual weight.
Yeah, exactly.
that's not like
gonna happen every month.
No. And I was like, I wouldn't want it to, you know what I mean? So it's going to slow down all these things. But you know, sometimes I have gals that lose, you know, 15 pounds, you know. What's super funny, and this is hilarious. I had a gal that did the last round that I had finished up. She was like, I love your program. I'm going to go on to part 2. This is amazing. She's like, I've lost 8 pounds, which is more than I have lost doing anything else for the past 5 years. I feel amazing. I'm sleeping amazing. All this stuff. She goes, but I got to tell you, my husband's lost over 20 pounds and all he's been doing is eating what I'm eating. Come on.
You're like, unfortunately,
like, I know.
Body.
I know.
Right? You often say ditch the scale.
Yes.
We have women who step on the scale every single day. I am one of them. You know, I try not to. If I know it's that time of the month, I'll just say, don't even go over there. Just don't get on it.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
You're going to ruin your day. Don't do it.
You're going to ruin your day. Yeah.
So tell me why you don't want women to really focus so much on the scale. What do you tell them to focus on instead?
Yeah. So, I mean, this is really along the same lines of, you know, men's and women's bodies gain and lose weight differently. And for women, again, like that weight loss piece of it throughout the process, I mean, they might, you know, lose a few pounds, But I can't tell you how many women I've had. They're like, yeah, I stepped on the scale. I lost 2 pounds. Ugh. But they are 2 sizes smaller.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? You lose inches first. Like that's the thing. Women will lose inches when you are on the correct thing for your body and health. You lose inches first, and it's top down.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like,
Why is
oh,
that?
God,
Exactly. The
oh my
boobs
God.
always go first. Why
Yeah.
is that? Why doesn't
Come
it
on.
go from like your thighs or
Right? Yeah, every time, top down, inches, the inches go first. And then you know that you're in the right direction because you're doing things to help maintain your muscle tissue and maybe even building muscle tissue. And you're actually burning fat. You're changing your body composition, which is harder to do than just losing weight because the female body is designed to store fat. And under stress, hormonal issues, all these things, when we look at weight loss, what will happen is that it's way easier and faster for your body to target your muscle tissue for energy versus your fat cells. So losing weight really quickly, a lot of times, it's either inflammation or it's your muscle tissue, which slows down your metabolism, makes you exhausted and fatigued, all this stuff. So I'll hear this from women all the time. They're like, yeah, I go to the gym and I'm working out a lot and da 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 da, but you know, I'm having a hard time like getting results. And it's because their system just gets depleted and they can't build muscle. And then as soon as we start changing things, I had a gal, so she did a workout. I can't remember what it was, but there was some type of like stations or something that she would do with her trainer. And she said that she was amazed once she started eating and actually fueling her body. She's like, I completed the stations almost a minute sooner. Every single one. She goes, my trainer was shocked. I was like, yeah, because you're healthier. You have more muscle, and that allows you to target fat. Right? We try and do it backwards. We try to do it like a male body, and the male body can build that muscle so quick and easy and burn fat. And the female body just isn't designed to do that. So
you have a specific ratio of protein, carbs, and fat. What is that ratio, and how did you figure out that ratio? Did you find it or figure it out with you first, or?
Yeah, and some of that changes per person. So sometimes when I talk about the ratios, it's, you know, kind of a general thing to look at and start with for yourself, and then you can shift and adjust it. So I do recommend getting as much protein in that matches your lean body mass. So if somebody weighs like 150 pounds and they have a certain BMI, so they say they have, you know, 120 pounds of lean body mass or something like that, you want to shoot for about 120 grams of protein a day.
Got it.
That's a good place to start, right? Most women are getting like 50 grams of protein a day. You know, way low. And then I talk about maybe matching with the carbs. And then for estrogen, you can have more carbs. So increasing that, you know, for progesterone, you can stay at the same. And then, you know, percentage wise for fat, I mean, a lot of times, again, women aren't getting enough fat in for our bodies either. So,
and so many women are scared of carbs. That's just something that we're taught.
yeah.
You know, so when you just mentioned, you know, sometimes you match your carbs, or like that might freak a lot of women out. So how do you get them to trust you?
Yeah. Well, some of it is like, you listen, you have to try it. You have to try eating. If you're getting 120 grams of protein, you can get 120 grams of carb. And I can't tell you, there's so many women that I start working with where if they have sleep issues even, right? They're like, I'm not sleeping well or all this stuff, you know, I did keto or I did all these things and my sleep got really disrupted. Have carb with your dinner. You will sleep so much better, you know, because your brain runs off of carbs, off of sugars. That's how your brain tissue functions. You know
and so
what I
do
mean?
your muscles. So that's why a lot of people do better when they start eating carbs in their workout. So I love that you point that out to them. That's very, very important.
Yes.
I have a couple of random questions. I have a board over here that I kind of threw some stuff down. You talk about blood sugar.
Yeah.
And, you know, do you suggest people, you know, so many people don't know about blood sugar unless they're diabetic. So do you tell people you should check your blood sugar levels by pricking their finger, or no? Do you just, you know, figure out their ratios to know that they're not crashing with their glucose levels?
Yeah, a lot of time I have people just track your own hunger,
Okay, symptoms.
tracking your own hunger and satisfaction. Yeah, yes, tracking their own symptoms can be really, really helpful. And, um, I mean, you can track blood sugars, but sometimes that's like a lot of work and people aren't
Yeah,
going to keep
a
up
lot of
with that. So
pricking and bleeding.
it's helpful.
Mhm.
Yeah, yes, yeah. But one of the things that comes along with being estrogen dominant is also insulin resistance.
Mm.
So that goes hand in hand. So if I see somebody's estrogen levels on a test report that says they're out of control, yeah, they're going to have some, carb cravings, they're not going to be processing carbs correctly. They're going to have that insulin resistance, all that stuff. It goes along with it. So it happens a lot. Yeah.
Makes sense. Um,
Yeah.
we didn't talk about perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause. So is your approach to them,
Yeah.
because you wrote a whole book about it, another book, is your approach to women in those stages of their life very different in terms of the protocol and how to lose weight?
Yeah. So there are it's like similar but different, because your body at that point is different. You go through different stages. So even in my book, The Female Fat Solution, I have that section where it's like the 7 bodies of Eve,
Mhm.
you go through different bodies throughout your life.
And this is
And
why it's so important not to compare. I have so many women say, well, when I was younger, I was this. And I'm like, you didn't pop out a kid then, and you barely went through puberty. Like, you are not going to be that same body and weight.
yeah, exactly.
And like
Yes.
even with Beyonce, like I don't know if you're a Beyonce fan, I am, but her body has drastically changed. It's
Yeah.
amazing. But
Yeah.
she has came out and said so many times, like, I'm a mom now. Like
Yeah.
you pushed out twins. Like my body is not the same. She's healthy, she's fit, but
Yeah.
she physically is not as, small as she used to be, but she's a woman now.
Yep. Yes, exactly. Exactly. And that's the other thing too, is that the female body is so incredible that it has the ability to go through these dynamic changes and create life. And when it does that, it changes the structure. I mean, like because I'm a chiropractor, right? Your lumbar spine changes. The curve in your spine changes by like 5 degrees
Oh, I
from
didn't know that.
pregnancy. Yeah. So it's all these changes that happen. Like your feet grow, right? Your feet grow. Your feet don't really grow, right? The ligaments relax more and more, right? But you need like a half a size or a size up of shoe. Yes, these are very normal things that change, but these are changes to your body. It's just like if you have a surgery, you have a scar, you know? If
Mhm.
you sprain your ankle really bad when you were 18, I guarantee that ankle is still giving you trouble.
Especially when it rains.
Yes. Right. So our bodies are dynamic and do different things and can serve a different purpose at different stages of our life. And perimenopause, menopause, and beyond, it's a different body you're living in. So it needs different nutrients, different minerals, right? It's going to need more protein to do the same thing that protein used to do. And
Mm.
so that's where that balance of nutrition, women will say, I didn't change anything. I was
Mhm.
really healthy and fit and da 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 da. I did nothing different. I went through perimenopause to menopause, and now I put on 10 pounds and I cannot get it off for the life of me. I'm like, yeah, because you're still eating like you were pre-menopause.
Yeah,
You
wow.
know, it's
Such a good point. Yeah.
yeah.
You talked about nutrients and vitamins and supplements. What supplementation should, women, like if you had to give a blanket statement, like every woman should be on these supplements, are there certain ones that you prescribe to your patients?
Yeah, so there's like a top 5 that I'll recommend in general, right? Like a good multivitamin,
And when you
you
say
know,
good, what do you mean? It can
like
be
a
gummies
food,
or
yeah.
because that's what we really want.
Yeah, right. Could it be in a gummy? That'd be great. Food-based or something that's really absorbable. So if you whatever multivitamin you have, if you have a tablet, put it in some apple cider vinegar and see if it dissolves. If it dissolves, great. If not, you're not getting any of
What if
that.
the gummy like kind of gets smushy?
Oh,
You're like, no.
a gummy is probably not it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll do the
Multivitamin.
supplement test with the
Yes.
multivitamin. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Multivitamin. A fish oil is great. A high quality fish oil. That's the only caveat here. Is I say if you're not getting a high quality fish oil, I'd rather have you not get one because they can be super contaminated and bad.
Oh, is there a brand that you recommend?
I mean, there's a few of them out there. One of my favorite is Innate Choice because they do extensive research on it.
Oh, good.
Yeah, yeah. One of the most knowledgeable guys I've ever, listened to and researched on. So, oh, it's fantastic. Vitamin D, and that one is up in the air a little bit too. I live in Minnesota.
Mhm.
You know, I am deprived of sunlight.
Yeah.
Enough, right? So sometimes it's either vitamin D or minerals that you need to do, right?
What kind of minerals? Like minerals you put in your water?
Yep. So a lot of times we're just mineral depleted from stress, from hormone issues, all that stuff. We get mineral depleted. So a lot of times just getting more electrolytes in or mineral drops in can really, really help. That one too, there can be different testing for that to be more specific for you. And then the fourth one is a probiotic. Again, probiotic gut stuff. Stress throws off your microbiome. So many things throw off your microbiome, leads to other issues. So getting in a probiotic is a great place to start. And then the fifth one is adaptogens. So adaptogens to help you manage and mitigate stress. So these are herbs. Some of them are Chinese herbs, some of them are Ayurvedic herbs. They just help your body manage stress because stress can set off this like wildfire in your system. And instead of having it do that, it can be like, oh, just a little flame and then it goes out, right? That can be the difference of stress response in your body, which makes a huge difference in how you feel, how your body functions, how you repair, all that stuff. Like one of the number one things that women love when they start is like you can like feel the difference. Like if you take a good multivitamin, you might be like, okay, I'm taking a
You're
multivitamin.
like, I don't know if it's working or not.
But like a good probiotic, you'll be like, oh yeah, my gut is better from that probiotic.
You're like, I'm going to the bathroom every day now.
Yes. Same thing with adaptogens. You'll be like, oh, I'm not so crabby anymore. Yeah, because you're not as stressed out, right? It just kind of.
So when you say adaptogens, are you talking about like Don Qui or St. John's Wort, or like, can you name some so I can write them down?
Yes. Yeah. So yes to some of those, and some of those depending on, somebody's goals or things like that, like St. John's Wort or like some ginsengs or things like that are good for or not good for fertility purposes. So those are the things you got to be careful of. But in general, and again, some of them, depending on somebody's history, I would recommend or not recommend. Again, I just say this just as you're diving in, you don't just start like taking a bunch of stuff.
These,
right, like that sounds great. I want to feel like that. Yeah. But some things are, if you have a thyroid issue, some of these are not helpful to take. But one of my favorites is ashwagandha.
Yeah, that's like Zen. You like.
Yes.
You don't need a glass of wine. You need some ashwagandha.
Yeah, get a good serving of ashwagandha in.
That would be a good promo. You don't need a glass of wine. You need some ashwagandha.
Yes, exactly. Oh my gosh. Maca is another favorite.
And that's good for fertility.
Yes. Yes, it is. Yep. Rhodiola. That's a really good one too. Eleuthero, that one's good for energy, especially if you're dragging through the day. Yep, that one's called Siberian Ginseng. Eleuthero is another name for it. Those are my top faves that sometimes, wolfberry is great. It's also a good antioxidant, things like that. But yeah, a lot of times I'll recommend blends of adaptogens for people, so you don't have to take like
20 pills a day.
Yeah, you're getting like this blend in, and they come in powders and stuff like that that you can add to a shake or your beverage or something. It's easy to do. You just notice and feel that positive benefit. Yeah,
that is awesome. I'm in this group on Facebook called PMDD. It's like support, and we all just vent and we all try to figure out what's going on with us. And some of the girls started mentioning about taking antihistamines or like allergy pills, and it helps alleviate some of their crazy symptoms around their period. Is there a correlation between histamines and hormones?
Yes. Yeah. And a lot of this is also just an inflammatory response. If your body is having a hard time processing hormone, flushing things out, you're going to have an increased inflammatory response. And then when you have those higher hormone phases, again, it's that gasoline on a fire. So they're just using like a different way to try and bring that fire down, It doesn't
Wow.
necessarily help the body process things better,
Yeah.
but, again, at some points you're like, hey, I've anything to help me get through, right? Yeah.
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 Wow. Okay. Because I know with antihistamines, sometimes they could cause other issues if you're taking them every day. One could be like constipation. Do you know of an adaptogen or an herb that you would say is a good replacement for that?
I mean, I specifically for histamine reaction, I don't have like a one-to-one swap per
Yeah.
se,
Yeah.
but that's where like again, a general blend can be really, really helpful,
Okay.
just
Got it.
helping your system function and process better. Yeah. Another thing with that, just to throw this out there, is to really incorporate other lifestyle habits that also help flush the body of that gunk, like histamine that gets like dry brushing.
Oh yeah, with the brush.
Yeah, dry brushing. Oh, fabulous for
It
helping
really
flush.
works.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because
Yep.
I would see it and I don't know. Sometimes when you see things, you're like, I'll try it, but does it really work? So just, getting getting the follicles open or your something in the skin open and it's going to get rid of toxins.
Yeah. So dry brushing is actually like it's been around for thousands of years. It's an Ayurvedic, technique. And
Mhm.
you start from the extremities and you brush in. So you just use a regular brush, right? And you just kind of brush the skin. You don't. It's not like, oh yeah, no. No, you need to be aggressive. Just lightly brushing the skin, right? And the goal of it is to move your lymph, right? Move your lymph,
Ooh.
because excess hormone, cortisol, toxins, right? The histamine stuff, it gets stuck in your lymph, and your lymph is different than your blood system. Your heart pumps your blood everywhere.
Mhm.
Nothing pumps the lymph. It doesn't move unless you move it. So if
Oh.
there's certain like, oh, lymph drainage massage or like rebounder things that can help move lymph. Sure, dry brushing is another easy way. Take brush, 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 move that lymph. You do it, start at the feet, work up, outside, work in. There you go. Lymph nodes are in your armpits and your groin. So as long as you're brushing towards those areas, just,
Wow.
5 strokes, it's easy to do and it really, really helps. Yeah. But it's a lifestyle thing versus like, I'm going to take a thing to help. It's,
Oh, I
you do
love
it.
that. That's such a good
Yeah.
idea. Any other tips for that area?
Um, Those are, I mean, besides like Epsom salt baths or things like that, that's also can be really helpful for lymph and just overall drainage. But it can be that, there's different times of the month that I do recommend dry brush every day. It stimulates collagen production too. So that can be helpful. But you might need an Epsom salt bath every day at that point. Get your system really
Wow.
going. Yeah. At different times of the month, your body needs different things. So
I
yeah,
love that. I know
yeah.
we've been chatting for a while and I so appreciate all the information that you've given me. But before we go, I know you kind of explained to me that you do one-on-one counseling as well. The 12-week challenge sometimes can get filled up quick. And I know that you're having one January 4th. It's coming up and the
Yep.
opening date for you to sign up, it goes quick. You can register on December 18th. So that's just around the corner. But if you don't make that date or you just want to work with Dr. Westie one-on-one, how can they do that? And what does that entail of?
Yeah, so I have a one-on-one level for working with people, and I create everything, customized to each person, like customized meal guides and protocols and everything. And it's just a lot more, um, guidance, personalized guidance. I mean, for some gals, they don't want to be a part of a group, or they're like, you know what, I feel like I need extra help. I
Mhm.
need more, and I need that one-on-one guidance. I'm sick of getting the runaround. I want to just get, A to B as quick as possible. And that's really through the one-on-one. Yeah.
I love that. Now,
Yeah.
you for the 12-week challenge, you said it's a group. So it's on Facebook. Is that where the group is, or how does the program work?
Yeah. So I do have a group for it. I mean, but if you don't have Facebook, you don't have to be, on Facebook to get it. But it does, I do group coaching calls. We talk about some mindset things, working with your body differently, tons of information. it's a deep dive into how your body works and functions. And then you learn how to work with your body. Because that's ultimately the thing, is that your body's probably going to respond a little differently than everybody else's, which is fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's learning these different techniques of what really works for your system and applying those efficiently. So now you have a whole new tool basket, toolbox.
Toolbox, yeah, work basket.
Tool belt, whatever. You're getting so many more tools to be like, okay, at this point, I need this. At this point, I'm going to do this. And that way, no matter where you are, what happens, you're going to feel good and function well and be able to get to and keep results instead of like bouncing back and forth from result to result,
Yeah, that's so important that you're educating people. And that's one reason why I started this podcast, is that even on my own journey, as I'm trying to put stuff together, I really wanted to bring everybody else on, because I think it's so empowering when you can, take your health into your own hands and not depend on doctors who will just say, well, just take this Vicodin and this birth control and don't drive your kids around. Well, thank you so much, Beth. I enjoyed this conversation. I would love to have you on again. I feel like you could talk or teach us so much, especially I feel like I definitely want to pick your brain more too about Chinese medicine and herbs. But where can people find you online?
Yeah. Thank you for having me. This has just been amazing. I love doing this. I love talking about all this stuff. I'm on the interwebs. My Facebook and Instagram is Dr. Beth Westie. My YouTube channel is called Dr. Beth Westie. My website is Dr. Beth Westie. Yeah. And then I have a podcast called The Female Health Solution. So there's, more stories and stuff there. Yeah. So lots of places, all the places. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And you guys, make sure to buy her book, whatever stage of life you are in, either, your fertile years or menopause. I think there's just so much valuable information in there. It's something that I often will go back and open, and like I have all these highlighted areas in the book. So and what I've actually done this. I've given it to somebody else, and then I had to rebuy another one because I'm like, you know what, you need this. Here you go. So where can people find your book?
Yeah, so it's on Amazon. I have it on Amazon. Yeah, The Female Fat Solution or The Female Menopause Solution. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well, we appreciate you, and I hope you have a great week. Everybody else watching, thank you for tuning in. Check me out next Tuesday and every Tuesday on the Fit with Fallon podcast, and we'll see you next time.